Here we are again. I anticipated this time around we would be talking about the opening Allied moves in the campaign in Italy 44. I'd be showing some exciting, dramatic, thrilling movement, combat, and exploitation on the road to Rome. We're not quite there, though. In Second Front, the rules for reinforcements, replacements, reorganizations such as conversions, upgrades, withdrawals, arrivals, departures. I don't know, there's page after page of that stuff in the Second Front rule book and in the Order of Battle booklets. So I had to spend a lot of time making sure I had all my ducks in a row. The rules for combat, movement, exploitation, all that stuff are pretty well set in the core rules for all of my scenarios, but I always have to check carefully to make sure that I have reinforcements and replacements and reorganizations settled, and that's where we are right now. So I wanted to show some of that before we got into movement, combat, and exploitation. I've taken the liberty here of changing a few arrival dates, departure dates, conversion dates, that sort of thing, just for purposes of demonstration here. So when you see some of these units showing up and you say, oh my gosh, that unit should not be there at that point in the campaign, you're absolutely right, but it's just for demo purposes that I put some stuff on here. So let's take a look. We'll begin the Allied player turn for May 1, 1944. We see the usual information about what's going on. For Italy 44, we get an additional message because the Axis player has some more or less mandatory garrisons in northern Italy. And this is just a reminder of what's going on. And in fact, in this case, and there's a slight chance of this during the random setup, and it happened here, Genoa didn't quite get the full garrison that it was required to get during the random setup, which is okay. That happens maybe 1 in 10 times when you start the game. So that means that the Allied player is going to get a partisan unit hanging out in northern Italy. We won't really mess with that too much this time around, but next time for sure when we're doing movement and combat and exploitation. So the first thing that we see here in what is generically the initial phase of the game will be reinforcements. In this case, supplies, air power, naval points, ground units, and there it is. There's the 10th Mountain Division showing up in May 1944. Okay, so we know that Senator Bob Dole and those guys did not appear in May of 1944. I just picked that at random to have it show up so you can see there it is appearing automatically in Rome on this turn. Partisans, because of the failure to have full garrisons in northern Italy, a partisan unit showed up. It's actually marking it, but it's way up in the north, and I'm not going to bother to scroll up there and look at it. Withdrawals, the Free French 4th Moroccan Mountain Division is exiting the theater. Again, this is too early in the game for that really to happen, but I changed the date just so you can see how everything lines up on this screen here that shows you what's happening. Reorganizations, unlike the way reorganizations, conversions, upgrades work in the rules as written, I've moved some of those things over to the movement phase. And this is just a little warning that you're going to conduct that stuff in the movement phase, not in the initial phase. And you can check for a full list that shows you all the things that are possible. Let me pull this in here a little bit. And it tells you the dates that things can happen, whether or not the units are available at this time. And we'll see more of that in a minute. Okay, so that was basically just informational. Supplies, air, naval, ground, partisans, withdrawals, reorganizations. We'll continue here. Special replacements. The system keeps track of all the special replacements that you receive when you lose units in combat. No combat has happened yet, so there are no special replacements, so we'll just click right on past that. We'll end that phase. Again, that was just informational anyway. There was nothing that could be done there. Now we get into replacements, and this is more than just informational. Here things can indeed be done if you want to do them. Behind the scenes, the system is keeping track of armor and infantry replacements for both both sides and for all the different nationalities. And so you can see that U.S. armor RPs, which are available to everybody, 10 British armor RPs, which, if I understand correctly, British armor RPs are available to all nationalities except the U.S. I might have that wrong. I could never quite confirm how that was supposed to work, so that's what I've gone with for this scenario. And then for each individual nationality on the Allied side, and as you can see, as everyone knows, there are a bunch of them, and it shows you how many infantry replacement points are available at this time. So we can go in and replace some units. This, by the way, is almost exactly the same interface that I used in my Blitz 41 computerized scenario, which is really Fire in the East. So we can go in here and say, for the U.S., let's see if there are any divisional cadres that are still on the map that we should rebuild. Well, they're none here, so we won't do any, but instead we'll stick with the U.S. and we'll go over and see about resurrecting some units from the replacement pool. And in the replacement pool, we'll find these Ranger units. So let's just pick one, and we'll say, yep, we want to bring that guy back on the map and put him in play. We'll confirm it. Tells us, yep, that worked. So he's back in play on the map. And we could go around again and get some more Rangers if we wanted to, or we could say, let's choose a different nationality, and let's take a look at what do the Brits have? Eliminated units. Let's see, we'll bring back the 234th Infantry Brigade here. We'll confirm that, confirm that he was resurrected, and that's good enough. We can bring back some more, but I think you get the idea. We can see here are the units that we brought back, and by hovering over the unit, you can see the red circle shows where that unit appeared on the map. We return here, choose a different nationality. We can go back to this screen, but I think that's probably enough replacements there. So the next thing to look at, so we'll say that we're going to end this phase. And it wants to know if we really want to do it, because there's no going back once we say that, yeah, we're through with replacements for this player turn. So we'll click that. And this is going to take us now into some supply stuff that, for today's purposes, we don't really care about supplies. So I'm just going to zoom through that and get rid of the supplies. And now we're in the movement phase of the May 1, 1944 Allied player turn. And this is where we get to do a couple of things that would, in the rules as written, would have been done in the initial phase. And for reasons which might or might not make sense, I decided to move a couple of these things over to the movement phase. I just felt like they fit better here. I think they expedite play in the sense that you don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about it during the initial phase, because you have to figure out what is it that you're going to do in the movement phase. Well, you just don't make your decision in the initial phase. Wait till you get to the movement phase. Make your decision there once you figured out what you're going to do that turn. It just seems to kind of improve the flow of working your way through all the things that you have to get done in a player turn in a game of this magnitude. So we're in here in the movement phase, and we'll just click over here at Bari, and we see a variety of units in that hex. You can see they're repeated down here, looking more like counters as opposed to just the text listing of them. Here are all the different things that are in that hex: airfield, AA points, supplies, major port, coast defense battery, and this happens to be a replacement and reorganization center for the Allies. We could break down a unit that's here because there is the New Zealand division could break down. We could reorganize, and we could disband. And it's those last two things that I want to talk about, because I think we've looked at all the other things previously in videos. So let's take a look at reorganizing. Now, again, I've changed some dates on this. We'll go in And when we see this, oh, it's going to say that nobody is available right now. That's very interesting. It's supposed to show that somebody is available there. And I don't know why it didn't show it. And I hate to start this thing all over again. So let's just return to movement and roll this back up here and deselect this. And let's come over here and see what's going on. Let's try doing some reorganizing over here. Well, so it's working fine over here. I don't know what's going on with those stubborn New Zealanders. We'll look back at that in a minute. So here, there are a couple of units in here that are available for reorganization or conversion or upgrade. Not necessarily true on this date, but I set everything so it's all available on this date, even if it really has to wait to late in the game. For example, we could say, and I could do both of these at the same time, but I'm going to say I want to take this engineer regiment and I want to convert it to assault engineers. So I would do that, and it says, yep, that worked, you got it. And so now I can no longer do that because the unit is no longer available because it got converted already. And I could say, yeah, I want to take that motorized heavy AA brigade and turn it into a truck group. And I'll also get an infantry replacement point out of the deal. That sounds like a good deal to me. So we'll do that one. So there it switches. And now if we return to movement and we look at the hex, we see that the truck group has shown up. And we can see that the engineer regiment turned into an assault engineer brigade and got a little bit stronger. And if we were to go up, I didn't look at this beforehand, but if we were to go up here and look at the U.S. replacement points, we would see that we picked up an extra replacement point out of that. Now let's just see, for the heck of it, before I do any disbanding here, I'm going to get out of this hex and come back over here and see, reorganize. Well, I don't know what's going on there. So we should be able to reorganize that New Zealand division from a 15-15-10 to a 17-17-10. But for some reason, I have messed that up and I can't do it. And my demonstration is going to be very poorly received because it didn't go perfectly here. So instead, we'll just return to movement. And instead of reorganizing it, I'm going to teach the Kiwis, sorry Kiwis, I've been to New Zealand, great place, love it, but I'm going to teach you guys a lesson. I'm going to say that I want to disband. And who should we disband? Let's disband the New Zealand 2nd Mechanized Division. We'll confirm disbanding it. By the way, it can't be undone once you've disbanded it. Well, in a sense it can be undone because you're going to get all those replacement points. And if that unit is going into the replacement pool, you could replace it. If it's not, then you can't replace it. So anyway, let's click here. And we've disbanded it, and we just scored a bunch of replacement points. We'll close that, and that should teach the New Zealanders to be available for reorganizing when I expect them to be. So back up here to movement, you can see the New Zealanders are gone from the hex. And I think that's about it. Pretty short and sweet today. There wasn't a whole lot to demonstrate, but believe me, that was a ton of work. That was an awful lot of coding, a lot of database work, and a lot of fiddling around to try to get the interfaces for doing that stuff to be as intuitive as possible and to make everything fit into the usual flow of the game. So that's it for what used to be entirely the kind of generic initial phase of the game. Moved a couple things from the initial phase into the movement phase, but all the different bits and pieces of reinforcements, replacements, reorganizations, and now we're actually at the part where we could start moving, overrunning, and attacking, and we'll save that for next time around. Thanks for watching. Hope you are enjoying playing some good Europa games these days. Take care.